Hi, this is Kelly Farley, author of Grieving Dads to the Brink and Back. This is a book I published back in 2012, and it's something that, it came to be as a result of me losing two of my own children. And I wrote it because I couldn't find a resource for other men when I was in need of one. As part of that, I started a blog called Grieving Dads Project. It's at GrievingDads.com. And I recently asked a lot of the followers on there and on the Facebook page what kind of topics they want to hear about. What do they want me to talk about? I've been writing for, I guess 7 years now. I've been writing on the subject of men's grief as it pertains to a loss of a child. And I've touched on many topics, and I feel like I've run out of ideas to talk about. So I just threw this out in the last couple of weeks. Hey, what do you want me to talk about? So I got a series, or not a series, I got about 25 different topics that's been given to me. And I ask if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, to please send me a private message, post it on the Facebook page, or post it on the GrievingDads.com website. But this week I want to talk about a little bit about dealing with depression as a result of losing your children, or just in general, really. Before my losses, I was like 10 being your best day. I never operated below an 8. I didn't know what a bad day really was, fortunately. I never really understood what people deal with when it comes to depression. Didn't respect it, mainly because I didn't understand it. But soon after, probably about 6 months to a year after losing my first child, Katie, I started seeing signs of it. Although I didn't believe that's what it was. Looking back, that's certainly what it was. I was having a hard time functioning, couldn't get out of bed, didn't want to participate in life. It was horrible. And then it kind of spun out of control after my second loss with Noah. And as part of that, I went to my general practitioner, my doctor, and said, hey, something's wrong with me. It's a medical condition. And those of you who read my book know, they've kind of heard this story before. But I know there's a lot of people out there that have not read this book, so that's the reason I'm talking about it again. But I went to my doctor, and he says, Kelly, I think you have depression. I'm like, depression? I don't get depression. Depression's for weak people, and I'm not weak. But obviously, I didn't understand what depression was or what triggers it. And like I said, apparently I didn't respect it because I didn't understand it until I found myself in it and couldn't get out of bed, on my hands and knees, begging for the pain to stop. Just could not snap out of this fog. And I hear that from a lot of grieving dads, and I feel like I'm living in this fog, this gray blanket that's thrown over top of me, and I don't remember anything. And I go to work, I don't remember what I did at work. But finally, he tried to convince me it was depression, didn't believe him. He gave me a prescription to antidepressant. I said, I'm not taking it. Gave me a cardio counselor, so I'm not going. There's something else wrong with me. Long story short, I ended up taking about 2 days later, out of desperation, I ended up taking the antidepressant just because I kind of hit my rock bottom on it. I mean, depression was so bad, and the sadness and the despair was so bad, something needed to give. So I thought, well, let's give it a try. As I took that medication, I broke down. I broke down crying, mainly because I felt like I was letting myself down. I felt weak. I felt like, you can't control this. How can you not control this? You've controlled everything else in your life, but you can't control this? You failed. And so I beat myself up over it. Fast forward to probably about 9 months later, and it still wasn't helping much. My doctor kept upping the dosage. I was apparently looking back, I was having side effects. And I was having dinner with a guy that was I guess I'll call him a mentor. Somebody that helped me through some dark stuff. He was a Stevens minister, and I was telling him about the side effects I was having. He's like, Kelly, if you got a heart problem, you go to a cardiologist, you go to a heart doctor. If you got a head problem, you should go to a head doctor. And I thought, you're probably right. So I scheduled a meeting with a psychiatrist, went, spent about an hour with her, and she says, I think you're dealing with PTSD and depression. And it's the first I'd heard anything about PTSD. And she goes, and I think you were having a side effect to the antidepressant. Your general practitioner didn't see the signs, didn't know what he was dealing with. But fortunately, she switched me off over about a 2-month period, and it made a huge difference for me. And to be honest with you, I still take them to this day. I've tried to come off them several times. It's been about 10 years now, and I feel myself going back into that spiral. And I think a lot of that has to do with permanent damage from the trauma of burying 2 children, unfortunately. But that's just the cards I've been dealt, and many of you have been dealt. But it helps me. I'm not saying that's the answer for everybody, but it helps me. And also the counseling and talking through my emotions and feelings also helped me get through the depression part of dealing with the losses. And I want to talk about antidepressants because I know a lot of people, it's like a taboo subject. Nobody wants to talk about antidepressants or that they take antidepressants because nobody wants to admit they need them or take them to help them through the day. And I don't think a pill's the absolute answer to everything. I don't. And in fact, my doctor, the psychiatrist, said there's several things that should go into this treatment. One's being your physical health, working out, your spiritual health, connecting spiritually with whoever, counseling, talking about it, going to support groups, and the medication. They were all things. It was kind of a 5-prong or 4-prong approach to the PTSD and the grief. And I decided I was going to do all of them, and I did, and it helped me tremendously come out of that deep despair that I was in for so long. I would like to ask everybody else out there to share their experiences with antidepressants, if they've gone through them. Did they help? Did they not help? And just open up a conversation and dialogue on this topic. And again, as a reminder, any other topics you want me to talk about moving forward on these video blogs, please let me know. Appreciate it. Thanks.